how do we ensure that our employees feel safe at the workplace? How do we ensure that, from an EVP to a workforce planning to an analytics, that they feel that they are safe in the environment, that they can contribute and be themselves and not feel like they're left out or scrutinized. And a term that's sometimes used for this is psychological safety. And what it basically comes down to is how do I create an environment that allows me to be myself to my optimal level and contribute through creativity and thinking the best way I can. And us as human capital professionals, how do we create and facilitate that environment and allow psychological safety? So I think that's also one of the questions that came out is how do we develop that?
How much time do we have? Look, so incidentally, psychological safety is one of the practices of our elite team profile. And we've actually seen, based on the assessment that we do as part of the program, that the teams that have strong team dynamic are scoring higher or the top of the higher percentiles on psychological safety, because there is that environment where I can be myself. I can try things. I can risk new things. I can voice my opinion. The teams that are struggling are the teams that don't have that. And we're always confronted with exactly this question. I think, great that it came through. Is how do you develop that? Where do you start? So I would say start with yourself. Now, this is one of those components, in my opinion, where you can lead by example. And what does it mean? Let's say we're in a meeting together. We are brainstorming, things around a problem and a solution. I'm the manager of the team. I need to show vulnerability. I need to be okay to show vulnerability. If I have an idea, I need to be comfortable to ask the question of my subordinates. Tell me, why won't this work? What am I missing here? If returning from a meeting where I did a presentation to my superiors, I can turn to one of my subordinates and I can ask them, how did I do? Okay, so we start fostering feedback as well. Another great way in which you can do that is to just involve people. Earlier we spoke about involvement. If you involve someone in decision making, okay, that is a big component in creating that environment of trust. Because I'm part of the decision making process. There isn't a decision made and then it is just sort of driven down on me. So involve people in decision making specifically. Another key component is there has to be open two-way communication. I've shared an example now of where you can ask for feedback. Another great way is for you to be comfortable to admit mistake and to not do it jokingly, hey, my bad. I say, guys, that was my mistake. I take full responsibility for that. You create a sense then that, look, it's okay. I think one of the great examples of that is the current CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, who has turned Microsoft around based on the book by Carol Dweck. So Carol Dweck spoke about a fixed and a growth mindset. And a key component of a psychologically safe environment is a growth mindset. And the growth mindset environment is an environment where it is okay to try new things, but it is also okay to fail. It is okay to be open and honest. If I can use an example, we ran a leadership session during our leadership program, one of our elite leader programs for a client in the agriculture industry, and it was sort of part of the first session. So we were introducing all the faculty to the next gen leaders on the program, and we started off with a similar question where we said, one word, how are you feeling today? Okay, so all the delegates of the program, excited, enthusiastic, And everyone on the human interest team did not respond in that vein. It was like, I feel so tired, I feel anxious, I feel overworked. And you can see that candidates are like, what are you a slave master? And it was because we consciously and intentionally create an environment where people are comfortable to say, I'm not having my best day. So we have a practice internally where if you don't feel like the sharpest tool in the shed, let us know so that we can tailor our expectations from you. So, long answer, but start with yourself and then start filtering it through the rest of the organization, but along those types of practices. And how do you do that? Is you coach people. Okay. It's not easy to create it. Oh man, but it is beautiful if it is in place.
And I think so what you're speaking to is modeling the behavior that you want to see in the team. And I think if you understand how stressful that is to yourself, you would understand how stressful that is to the people in your team. So if you have to now admit that you're wrong, imagine the emotions and the feelings if you always want to be the person that's right. And what that brings up in you. And then imagine that the expectation from your team is, tell me when you don't have something going, or you're not at your peak at the moment, or you're struggling, or you've made a mistake, and understand the anxiety or the fear that might exist in them. And then how do you then support them and create through repetition an environment where they understand and can predict the outcome. So it's fine if you now and then say, no, but tell me if you have a problem, and then the next time you lash out and you go off on them. So I think a key component of psychological safety is consistency.
Absolutely.
And repetition, making sure that you have a consistent response to certain situations, that your team knows that I know how he's going to react or she's going to react when I go to them with that problem.
Yeah, and I think I'm just sitting here thinking of another example that I want to share. It's also about how you, as a manager and as a leader, respond when something goes wrong. Okay. So first of all, own up. Okay, be man and woman enough to admit your own mistakes. But then, if someone in your team makes a mistake, how do you respond? That is actually almost more important. We had an incident where certain, let's say, information was, let's say the email went to the wrong person in the organization. And this was actually, a contentious person within this specific team. And we're like, oh man. First of all, that's bad that it happened, even worse that it happened there. So we had a choice, how we could lambaste the colleague and say, but look, be more careful, why don't you double check? I've been, unfortunately, privy to such scrutiny at previous organizations. But we got together as a team. We acknowledged that it was a mistake. And then also we called the client and said, look, this happened. It is very unfortunate. We profusely apologize. This is how we suggest we rectify this, etc., etc. And because we were open, honest, transparent, there were no repercussions from a client's side. But if we again go in there and try blame shifting and this and that, if you're part of an organization or a team where there is blame shifting and finger pointing, on a scale of 0 to 10 on psychological safety, you're probably finding yourself in 0. Okay? That is a good indication. You don't have to do massive surveys to find out whether you've got a psychologically safe environment. If there's blame shifting and finger pointing, you don't have. Okay? So it's how you respond as well to that. And I think, as IOPs, we always talk about, the seat at the table. And I think, we're on the call. There's a lot of young aspiring IOPs. And we find ourselves in this position now where we are tasked with creating psychological safety. So I need to engage with more senior people. I need to provide and showcase the value, that an IOP adds to an organization. A lot of challenges, and I can identify with that sort of earlier in my career.